Welcome to r/Tales from Tech Support, where we get to have a little chuckle at the technologically disadvantaged. Like me. I'm Uncle Reddit, and have I got a story for you. Hey guys, pardon my very relaxed position tonight. I'm tired. But I still want to read, so might as well kick back and relax while I do it, right? No internet? Must be the firewall. This incident actually happened after I retired from my university sysadmin job. I still had an email account which I checked every couple days, and one weekend I found I couldn't check this account. The system was unreachable, so I tried a couple other systems. Also saw the website wasn't available. The entire network was unreachable. Not a big deal for me. Maybe they were doing some network upgrade or something. A couple hours go by and I get a call from the guy that took over when I retired. He's out of town for the weekend. His boss is calling him because the link from the department to the upstream network is down. And the network engineer they're talking to is insisting that the problem must be internal, probably the firewall. Network guy wants the FW rebooted. He won't keep working on the problem unless it's done first. So if I can, will I go down and reboot the firewall? There's no one else in town who knows the systems. I'm not doing anything, so I agree. Since it's a Sunday, I arrange access to the building and head on in. Arrive, get access to the server room, find the firewall and reboot. No change. For yucks, I follow the fiber connection from the firewall box to the edge switch. Maybe a GBIC is bad or something. There's no link on the switch port to the upstream fiber. Okay, I swapped the GBIC since there are a couple extras sitting on the switch. No difference. Clearly, this is not the firewall box. I'm updating my local contact, who I know from the old days, who's on the phone with the network guy. He grumpily agrees to look at the upstream switch again. Local contact then tells me that NG is asking if I have a copy of the upstream switch configuration. I'm totally surprised. Why would the department have a saved config for a switch we don't admin? We have a clumsy three-way conversation about this and it becomes clear that there is more to this story than meets the eye. Problem started with a scheduled power outage for the electrical upgrades to the building. Everything appeared to come back up after the power was restored, but the uplink did not. I had seen this multiple times when I was working at this place. The network guys would make changes to switch configs and forget to save the config. Months go by, there's a power outage, and when the switches come up, the config is incorrect. Your roots are gone. Anyway, I left the network guy, eventually figured out what was wrong with the config and fixed it, and uplink connection was back. I just hope he saved the config before he went on to his next ticket. I just don't understand why people insist on doing things and not writing them down if it's something that needs to be repeatable. Obviously no one there was capable of memorizing it, and even if they could, you're not going to be there forever. You can get run over by a bus tomorrow. Someone needs to be able to take over. I plugged in the cable like you said, and now nothing works. Just a quick reminder that some people really have no tech skills whatsoever. Also, mobile format. Sorry. I went to a client's house to look over their laptop and monitors which weren't connecting. When I arrived, I noticed the client had a USB hub connected to their laptop and a docking station which was located underneath the table connected to the hub. This has nothing to do with the actual issue I was there to fix, but I suggested to the client that they buy an extension cable so they can plug the USB hub into the docking station directly to power the USB devices. The client listened to my advice and bought an extension cable from me. I arrived into work the next day to the following email. Hi FWOG, I came into the shop yesterday and the attached blue cable is what you sold me. It doesn't work with my setup. Do you have something that will? Client. There were two photos attached to the email. One was the cable I sold them, and the other was of the hub with every USB cable still plugged in, including the docking station USB cable. I had pointed that out to them, and needless to say I haven't heard from them since. Bonus. I spent 2 hours on a call with a call center trying to get a VoIP password for a client. The password the company provided my client was incorrect, and the password they provided me was similar but also incorrect. After 2 hours with them, I decided to try a mixture of the passwords they had provided, mainly different capitalization, and got the phones to work. Turns out they gave me a password with too many characters and my client a password with the wrong capitalization. Just had to use my client's password with a capitalization from my password to get it. I love my job. I love it, man. Nothing's ever as straightforward as you think it's supposed to be. Can you fix my slow PC? Also known as the user who wished for unlimited RAM. This training is being done over video and chat, so there's the usual hellos at the start, introduce yourself, and then the first activity. I say who I am to my colleagues of 8 years because they may have forgotten me and interact, however. I don't know what the rest of that is. That's some leftover from another slide. Now, important thing to note is her laptop is the same model as mine. Issued roughly the same date, too. Same amount of RAM, everything. I'll be the first to admit I have some really terrible habits when it comes to keeping tabs open. But I remote into this user's machine and, yeah, it's really slow. Like, I start Task Manager and I got time to go get a glass of water before it starts. I spent some time checking out the machine, 8 gigabytes of RAM. But she's got like 50 tabs open of Chrome across 5 windows, about 10 PDFs open in Acrobat Reader, a dozen or so different Word and Excel documents open, and none of it minimized. Task Manager reports her RAM is capped out, in addition to about 5 gigabytes of page file. My final check was the CPU uptime. I'm disappointed in myself, normally for having a CPU uptime on my personal PC that's right now at 5 days. But this woman tried 25 days. I don't think she's ever shut down this machine in her life. No wonder the darn thing is so slow, she's basically torturing the darn thing. So after I've done with my check, I wait for her to go back to her laptop because, of course, she basically said, "I'm going on my break, remote in and fix it, thanks." And the conversation goes as follows. Me. I've had a look at your computer and I've identified 3 possible reasons your PC is slow. Sally. Have you fixed it? It's still slow. Me. Yes, it's still slow. I was just about to explain why it's slow and how you can prevent it from being slow in the future. Sally. But you're IT, not me. Can't you fix it? Me. I can fix it, but you need to save your work first. Firstly, you have too many tabs open in Chrome. Sally. Well, I need all of them. Me. Do you need all of them right now, or could you close some of them and reopen them when you need them? Sally. No, I need them all. Just fix it. Me. Okay, well, the other thing is that you only have 8 gigabytes of RAM. You can't have this many things open at once with only 8 gig of RAM. Sally. Can you increase the RAM? Me. Perhaps, but you'll need to get your manager to approve it, and it'll come out of your department's budget, and they'll contact me and I'll tell them that you keep 50 tabs open, and if you stop that, it might speed up. Sally. Well, then I'll get more RAM. Is that it? Me. Well, there is one last fix that I can attempt. You haven't shut down your computer in forever. If you reboot your machine, it might speed up. Sally. I close the lid every day. Is that not enough? Me. No, it isn't. Here's how you shut it down properly. Proceeds to show her the shutdown button in the start menu. Do this every day when you leave for home. When you next use the machine, press the power button on the machine to turn it back on. Your laptop will be faster then. Sally. Okay, thanks then. Click. Never did hear from the manager, so I'm guessing she decided to close some tabs? Okay, I am guilty as charged. I feel personally attacked about this one. I tend to keep a lot of tabs open. And what makes it worse is, if I have 10 tabs open on Chrome, you go into Task Manager and it shows like 30 instances of Chrome, not 10. So I'm not sure what's up with that, but I'm still confused by that. I've been trying to research that for years and it never did make sense to me. And honestly, I'm horrible about using my desktop too. For years, I've used my desktop as a dumping ground for everything. Recently, though, I've started cleaning out the desktop, getting rid of things, and putting it all in documents and then in subfolders from there. Things seem to run a little better now. It's not the system's fault, it's your fault. I'm not sure if this is worthy of Tales from Tech Support or if it's just a rant. It might be just an excuse for me to vent, in which case thank you guys, you're cheaper than a therapist. I work for an assets management firm as a guy who manages their software and databases. Not an IT guy, as I don't deal with hardware, and IT can't troubleshoot the issues I deal with. We have a neat software that keeps track of our transactions and balances. Basically, it shows you how much you own for each asset in each fund and has workflows to start a new trade or to buy or sell those assets, among many other useful things. There are many checks the software does to conform to fiscal regulations as well as security compliances. For example, it won't let you buy assets from a tobacco firm if your fund only allows a certain percentage of its capital to be invested in that industry. And most importantly, it doesn't allow you to oversell a position, ever. Now, what happens within the software is not what happens in the real world. The software keeps track of the orders, but doesn't actually push the trades. The way it works is, traders are on the phone with other traders, or third-party brokers, agreeing on a deal. Then both parties, figuratively, shake hands, and everybody goes on their merry way to scribble their checks and balances on their respective platforms. In my case, the traders check the system to see how much cash we have available, decide what's best to be invested in, do their phone calls, and then send an email to the middle office grunts who capture that trade in the system so that tomorrow the new amounts are reflected. At least that's how it should work. The thing is, you can start many sale orders for the same trade, but only execute them if you have enough capital for that position. Again, we cannot oversell. So if I own $100,000 of product A, I can book 2 sales for $100,000. But if I execute the first one, then I cannot execute the second one because I no longer own enough product A. Only executed transactions are sent to the back office and are considered official amounts. So we get an email from user with oversell in the subject, which again is a big no-no since it could expose the firm to liabilities and fines. So of course I panic. I start investigating but find that the software still doesn't allow oversells, so I sigh in relief. I go back to user saying, "Preposterous, our software doesn't allow oversells," with a screenshot of the error message saying you cannot oversell a position, and I leave it at that. User, however, comes back saying, "Well, the system allowed me to sell a position twice." Puzzled, I check all trades, check audit trails, balances, and all I can see is 1 sale captured. I reply, "That's not possible, there's only 1 sale executed. There are a couple of orders booked, but none of those can be executed since we no longer hold that position." Well, it turns out the user sold the position twice, by phone. Whereas other traders check the balances before taking a decision, this trader has a group of analysts booking orders based on those balances, which the trader then executes via phone call, without checking the balances first, and then pushes it on the software. So what happened was that the analyst 1 thought it was a good idea to sell position A, but analyst 2 had the same idea, so both booked the sales in the system. Then user made phone calls to confirm one trade, executed the trade on the system, then later that day made a second phone call for the other trade, and when trying to push the second execution, the system blurted back, "You cannot oversell a position." And somehow, this is the fault of the software. So basically, people aren't following protocol. They're totally ignoring the systems that were put in place to keep them from running into this problem to begin with. Alright. Manager can't believe overheating computers can cause them to shut down. I work in IT for a local large fast food chain. I get a call from one of my stores saying that their cash register at the first drive-thru window shut off and won't power back on. I asked him if he could see any lights on the register, and he said there was a red light on the register. I told him to unplug the register and plug it back in and try to power it on again. Still no luck, not even a BIOS screen. So I crack it up to hardware failure and make my way over there with a spare register to swap it out with. I arrived at the restaurant to find a space heater on the table blowing directly on the register. At this point I'm thinking, oh come on now, they can't be this clueless. So I turn the space heater to fan mode and cool down the register for a few minutes. Power it up and everything works perfectly. I called in the manager to inform them that the space heater blowing directly on the register caused the computer to overheat, and that's why it wouldn't turn on. He looks at me in disbelief and says, "Really? He can do that?" What was even more surprising was that no other person there could figure that out. Yeah, you'd think at least one person in an entire restaurant, no matter what their actual job is, there's always at least one kid in the restaurant that knows something about computers or tech. At least enough to know that, hey, you're basically baking this thing's brains. Hey guys, thanks for hanging out with me today. If you've enjoyed this video and you haven't done so already, do me a favor, could you click like, subscribe to the channel, and maybe click that little bell icon so you don't miss the fat guy with the beard telling you stories. See ya!